Hey, Team BCN, thanks so much for listening to today's podcast episode. Esther Sapp, chaplain out of the Cynthiana office, joins us today to tell us a little bit about her story and the work that she so faithfully does at Bluegrass Care Navigators. Esther, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks, Heidi, for this opportunity to share.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so looking forward to our conversation. So, to kick it off, how did you come to work at Bluegrass Care Navigators?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. My husband wanted to move from cold Michigan to a place with warmer climate, somewhere between Ohio and Tennessee, where our married children and grandchildren live. So I surfed the internet and found back then Hospice of the Bluegrass, read the reviews. They were all very positive, and it was a well-standing company. I applied in November and interviewed, accepted a full-time chaplain position, and then moved to Kentucky in December of 2014.
Oh, wow. So how long have you worked at Bluegrass Care Navigators the entire time?
Yes, in fact, just December 29th of this year, last year, 2022, I completed my 8th year.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's awesome. So when did you first I take it you were a chaplain prior to the move to Kentucky. When did you first know you wanted to be a chaplain?
I was actually working as a hospital chaplain, and a friend of mine who worked at a hospice in the same town. She worked in hospice as a chaplain. She saw something in me, or the attributes of me, of my skills or whatever, and she saw hospice chaplain in me, and she asked me to consider a position in her agency. So there was an open position, and I applied, and I really enjoyed that unique role as a hospice chaplain, and
Mhm.
it's like I found my niche.
Okay. What was your journey like to become a chaplain in general, even before your work in hospice or the hospital?
I had an undergraduate degree and was working as a teacher in Michigan, and then felt called to ministry. And the first thing I did, I kind of did things backwards. I took a year of residency as in clinical pastoral education. So it's intense training to be a chaplain. And
Mhm.
so I did that. They said, you need to go get your master's of divinity, Esther. So I did that for 3 years. That's when I then started working in the hospital following my residency, and then started working for hospice, and then the move down here to Kentucky.
Oh, wow. Okay, so quite a journey, quite a journey. How would you describe your role as a chaplain at Bluegrass Care Navigators? Or maybe a better way to put it is, what do you see as your mission at Bluegrass Care Navigators?
My role, I think, one of the things I would consider my role would be bringing a calming and unhurried presence to the patients and families that I'm serving at the end of life. That's active, reflective listener. My role is multifaceted. I consider myself a professional spiritual counselor. I'm definitely a significant contributing member of the interdisciplinary team and to my agency, Bluegrass Care Navigators. I have many things. I collaborate with the local clergy. I provide educational opportunities in the community related to end of life challenges, needs, decisions that are necessary. My role as a chaplain also is assist patients in exploring and identifying, processing their own physical decline, losses, and kind of identifying a lasting legacy. Of course, I officiate funerals and memorial services and administer sacraments, including Eucharist and baptism, and provide worship opportunities. But my mission, I believe, is to embrace and model Bluegrass Care Navigators' mission of easing pain and relieving stress, those that are nearing end of life,
Mhm,
and standing beside patients and their loved ones with sincerity, respect, and a hand just to guide them through these difficult times. I'd
mhm.
like to say that I'm walking my patients safely home.
Mm, what a beautiful gift that you give your patients and their families. It's hard work, but it's lovely too. What does a typical day, if there is such a thing as a typical day, in your work life look like?
Usually I start early, well, 7:30, and I read tiger texts and emails. That entails deaths, admissions, nurse visits overnight or over the weekend, and then I respond back to them as needed. I organize my day according to, do I have meetings? Do I have scheduled visits? Are there needs that I need to triage? And I do definitely triage visits. Sometimes I start at the skilled nursing facilities or assisted livings because those folks, it's not their, it's not like a private home, it's their home. And so I can sometimes get there earlier. Then I get called maybe to attend a death, maybe go when someone's near the end of life and support families. Sometimes I deliver supplies. We all do that. I definitely call to schedule visits. I communicate back and forth with team members. A large percentage of my time is documenting carefully, accurately my visits and conversations. Lots of phone calls, 2-week follow-up bereavement calls, condolence calls, calls to families after I visit if they're not present, just to give visit details and provide spiritual support. That's my routine almost every day.
Mhm.
Some
Yeah.
days I have individual disciplinary team meetings, committee meetings, staff meetings, a funeral service, memorial service, graveside service, preparing for those and or presenting in the local community.
Mhm.
And then somewhere in that hustle and bustle, kind of, I eat a packed lunch
Yeah, you gotta fit that in sometime. I
between my visits. And I also say, make sure you have lots of snacks in the car, healthy snacks, of course.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. So this wasn't a question on my list that I sent you, but listening to your schedule and just hearing about the situations that you deal with, that we like on the front lines, everyone on the front lines deals with their own mortality. How do you make sure that you stay healthy in the midst of all of that?
Well, almost every day I walk about 2 miles.
Mhm,
And if it's raining or icy, then I might not. But otherwise, I don't care what the weather is. I do walk almost every day.
mhm,
And I try to eat healthy. I journal some. Working with those patients and families in hospice care helps to inform my own well-being because I know life is precious, time is not guaranteed, and so I try every day to consider the day and my life precious and worth caring for. My well-being, both mental, physical, and spiritual well-being, worth caring for. Those are kind of some of the things I do to maintain, and I feel like I eat well, uh,
yeah.
healthy.
Yeah, it has. I've been here just a short period of time, but even not being on the front lines, I totally agree with what you're saying. It has made me look at life differently and see it as I mean, I always thought it was valuable, but now I think it's even more precious than what I came in thinking that it was, if that makes sense.
It certainly makes sense.
Yeah. For you, what's the best part about working at Bluegrass Care Navigators?
Well, no rhyme or reason for order or thoughts that come into my head. There is no 2 days that are the same, and I love variety. Probably one of the best parts is I work with the most professional, compassionate, dedicated team members. And not only do I work with them, but I feel valued and honored by them as one of the team members. And I love hearing one of my colleagues say, Esther's my chaplain. It's just wonderful to feel that kind of closeness.
Mhm,
One of the best parts about working here is I feel like Bluegrass Care Navigators offers some form of autonomy so I can use my professional judgment and make the decisions who I need to see, when I need to see them, how often, and no one questions, well, why were you there an hour, but only 30 minutes or whatever with somebody else? It's like, it's my professional judgment that's valued from
mhm,
the senior leaders, I would say,
mhm.
of course. I don't think this should be the end, but benefits are second to none at Bluegrass Care Navigators. So that's a wonderful part about working. I've been well cared for through benefits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is an important aspect of any job that you have. We all have difficult days, though, in any job. Can you tell me a story that keeps you going when it would just be easier to maybe not officially quit that day, but, kind of just quit in your heart?
Well, I'll tell you, I you maybe don't hear this very often, but I honestly love my job and have not had even one moment of wanting to quit.
Really? I mean, I didn't mean
Frustration,
like,
discouragement, those things enter into the picture. Yeah,
I
I get
think that's more what I meant, like the frustration, like not like, oh, I'm just going to hang it up today. I think I asked that question a little too dramatically.
no, but I understand there are lots of situations where folks maybe would feel like I can't take another one of these kinds of situations or
Hmm.
or whatever. But I think what I have lots of thoughts that come to my mind, lots and lots of stories, little tiny stories, but the one that kind of stands out even today, I have had a 65-year-old female married patient. She had a stroke. I met her back in November of 21. And that day she told me, I feel trapped in this situation. She could feed herself real slowly. Her hand was jerking, and she could feed herself strawberries from a little cup and take a little sip of. Eventually, though, the disease progression happened slowly, where she was no longer able to even get out of bed just in the past few months. But that first visit with her, I asked her at the end of the visit, she was a person of Christian faith, and I said, well, what's one of your favorite hymns? Because I love to sing to my patients. And she said, Count Your Blessings. And then even I thought, what is she talking about? But I sang Count Your Blessings. And then Wednesday of this week, I saw her and she was near the end of life. In fact, she died this morning. And I thought, she's not talking to me. She can't feed herself. And I talked to her. Her eyes were open and I knew she could hear me and was tracking me. And I said, my first visit with you and several visits since we've sung Count Your Blessings. I said, I'll never forget you. Because when I see your situation, I say, you can't care for yourself. You can't feed yourself. You can't get in the car and go places with your husband. There's a lot of things that you're now not able to do. And I'm going to just sing Count Your Blessings one more time here. So I did. And then afterwards, I thought, I don't know if she was saying Count Your Blessings. She wanted me to sing it for myself because of her situation, or if she really felt like she still had enough blessings to be counting them. Those are the kinds of things that inform my life from my patient. And that's
Hmm.
just one of, many. But it's very recent that stands out in my mind.
Absolutely. Esther, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that with me and with those who will be listening to the podcast. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, shifting gears a little bit to your own life, what do you like to do for fun when you're not working?
This is one of my pastimes. I love to watch people,
Oh, it's so fun.
even when I document, if I'm finishing my documentation in a car, I try to pick a place where I can see people walking or moving. Oh my gosh, I love people watching. But above all, I love to play. I grew up playing, imagination, outside playing, play, climb trees, just play. And I love to play. I love home renovation. We just finished a 3-year project where we live now. Sewing, camping, biking, walking, and playing all kinds of games with my 6 grandsons. I love to play.
Oh, how fun. How fun. I love that. I really do.
And I love euchre. That's one of my favorite adult games.
Oh, fun. Very fun. So you're actually the first person that I've interviewed that said play was the thing they like to do for fun, and I really do love that. It kind of just that word reminds me of the fun of being a child. So I have one question that I ask everyone who comes on the show, but before I do that, is there anything else you'd like to say that I didn't know to ask you?
I kind of hit on this a little bit earlier with you, Heidi, but how working in hospice, with hospice, how has that changed me as a person, professional, and that life is precious and often too short. Every day is a gift to cherish. This is what's really changed me. Everybody has a story that's important. I feel like the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller, because our patients often feel powerless. But when they share their story, they're empowered, and it helps to heal and provide closure and peace. Yeah.
That's lovely. That's lovely. So, my last question, because this podcast is about getting to know our team members, what is one thing that others may not know about you?
Well, I graduated with a major in undergraduate in biology and a minor in chemistry. And then I took the MCAT, which is fully intended to go to medical school. Then plans changed before I graduated from college, and I met and married my husband right after college, and he was becoming a pastor. We've been married 44 years. Since I didn't go into medical school, I completed my teacher education, did the student teaching, and have teacher retirement status from the state of Michigan. And then later on, I was called to Christian ministry, and I already talked about how I went to seminary, and I've served local as a local parish pastor and chaplaincy, and I do not regret, and I love that the course has changed in such a way that I was able to serve as a chaplain, minister.
Yeah,
Just didn't
that's
change anything, but that's some things that some folks might not know because I don't talk about that.
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that part about yourself and just for today's conversation. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed it, Esther. So, thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, you're welcome, Heidi. It's been my honor and privilege to present this kind of a look into the life of a BCN hospice chaplain, and we all have a story. This is part of my story. Thank you so much, Heidi. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again.